Hey, everybody. Welcome to another interesting episode of The Real Tommy Unleashed. Today, we have Kerri Jeter, CEO and founder of Freedom Sisters Media. And boy, we're really excited to have you on here, Kerri. Before we get started, we're here in beautiful Coronado at the Attorney King Studios, home of IQ Podcast Network. And I want to thank our sponsors, Attorney King, Apur, Sequan Casino, IB Fitness, and Nikki Rotten's for great burgers and other meals. So, Kerri, welcome.
Hey, thank you. It's so great to be here. I'm really excited. I'm a bit rusty. It's been a while, but I'm super excited
Mm.
to be here.
Yeah, we're pretty laid back here, and we just like to talk and carry on a conversation. With being a veteran, I'm really impressed with what you do to promote women veterans. My daughter's a veteran, but she really doesn't do much with it. As far as I know, doesn't talk about it, doesn't do anything, and I don't even
Mhm.
know if she's aware of any groups that she could be part of. So I admire what you're doing and
Thank you.
promoting the women out there. You were in the Army for how long?
I did 12 years
12
and I was
years.
active guard reserve. So I was National Guard the whole time, but I wore the uniform 24/7.
Oh, okay. And what was your MOS?
I started out enlisted as a 42 Alpha, which is human resources, and then I commissioned and became an officer, branched finance, and I did a plethora of things as an officer, from leading as a pay chief for the state of Missouri. I did public affairs. I was in training. I stood up DTS, which is the Defense Travel System nobody likes, but hey, it
Oh,
is what it
yeah.
is. And then was a public affairs officer and ended my career as a trainer at Officer Candidate School.
Wow, that's awesome. Very impressive. And on top of
That's a
that, you're
good
a
time.
mom and you've
Yep,
got
I'm a mom.
how many kids is it? 7?
So I
5.
had 3 and my husband had 3, and then we had 2 together. So there's 8 kids altogether,
Oh,
between him and I. I birthed 5. So my kids are from 22, they're 22, 19, 16, 5, and 3.
wow, you deserve a medal for that.
Thank you. It's a lot of work. It's hard work, but it's good
Wow.
work.
Absolutely. So, why don't you tell me or tell our viewers about your organization, what you do, your magazine, um, and let the world know about this great group for female veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity just to share. And that's really at the epitome of what we are, is just sharing stories of women veterans, who are still in, some are still serving, and some have been out for, 5+ years. And the whole point is, like, we don't show up a whole lot in a positive light. A lot
Hmm.
of media that does get covered about women veterans are, the broken stories, the damaged stories, the disability stories, but we rarely see those success stories, even through the hardships. And so we really focus on that piece. We're an empowering voice for our sisters to see what other women have done before them so they could maybe pull up from that power into their own life and reach their maximum potential too. So all our writers, all our stories are women centric, and I really believe that sharing those stories creates a more passionate, progressive, and equitable society, because women have been a part of the American story and, the human story from the very beginning, but it's not as well known. And so we're really just trying to get those stories out there to really let women be seen, known, and heard, right? And even to your daughter, who is not actively sharing, it's because we kind of have fallen through the gaps of accessibility. We're second generally to the men who serve, and then even in the military spouse community, those of us who are military spouses, it's usually not known that we've also served. So even in our own community, we're being left behind, and I just don't. I see this beauty and this incredible story in each and every woman who served, that I think it should be shared. So that's why I started what I started.
Oh, wow. That's really awesome. It reminds me of it was about 3 years ago now. I kind of lose track with our little pandemic thing because we kind of lost 2 years of life.
Yeah, you're not alone.
I know my wife went to a get together with a bunch of girls she went to college with, and so it was down by San Diego here, and she sends me a text back going, "Oh, one of my friends is a major in the Air Force," and I said, "Wow, that's cool," and so I started talking to her. Well, she was a major general, and I told my wife there's a big difference,
That's awesome.
but when I was talking to her, she says, "It took me a long time before I realized I'm a veteran too." And this is a 2-star general. It's like, yeah, women are so not thought of. I love the T-shirts and the different things that are coming out now. It's I'm not the spouse, I'm the veteran. Those type of
Mhm,
things,
mhm.
and I think it's really, really important to do that. I see Mia Rivera chimed in and says, Freedom Sisters Media Group is awesome. She wants to know, how did you start and where do you see it going in the future?
Yeah, so, well, it started because I love sharing story. I've always, as a little girl, even when I can look back at my own story and see why this matters to me, I knew everything about my neighbors. Like even people 2 or 3 blocks, we walked to school, and so you'd
Mhm.
see people out walking their dog or watering their plants, and I'd stop and talk to them. I wanted to know. I've
Right.
always just kind of been hungry for knowledge and sharing their stories. And so I'd go home and I'd share these stories, and my family would be like, "How do you know this? Like, we have a congressman that lived 2 blocks up," and they're like, "How do you know this?" I'm like, I just talk and ask questions. So it's always been a gift and a passion of mine to ask questions and be inquisitive and then to learn from other people. And so and also by learning, then sharing what you learn with others as well. And so I think the heart of it all has all been around storytelling and really empowering that. So my own journey of healing, I had left the military. I wouldn't say prematurely because as bold as it is, I had a 1-star general, like, "Why are you getting out? Like, you're getting ready to pen major, you're getting ready to take this command." And I
Yeah.
just, my womb was shut for 10 years and I got pregnant and I was pregnant with my who now 5-year-old daughter. And it's like, you know what? I could be great outside of the military too. And I was one of those women who was wanting to get that combat identifier. I wanted to be an infantry officer or an artillery officer. I wanted to get that combat arms and I wanted to go to ranger school. And so I was working out hardcore. I was lifting crazy. I was doing pull ups. I was doing all these things. And everything came to like a abrupt halt. I was like, okay, well, I'm pregnant. So now what? Which was wild. Um, and I just knew, like, in my heart of hearts, to be in such a big position in the military as a major, as a commander, and leading this company and this troops to
Mhm.
become officers, I know that was going to take all of me, and that
Right.
was going to take me away from my newborn baby. And so I made the decision then. So during that 3 years of first getting out, um, it was a lot of change. There was a lot of identity change. There was a lot about tempo change and a lot of isolation. And I think that was compounded because I was a new mom and back at home.
Mhm.
But I knew that I was called to serve. I knew I was called to advocate for women veterans because of other work I had already done. And now it was like this wilderness season. And so on Valentine's Day, the day of love, like I don't celebrate Valentine's Day per se, but I just felt like from my own personal belief and faith, like a divine dream, God just like blessed me in my sleep and gave me this grand vision for Freedom Sisters. And so that's what I did, just one step at a time. What does this mean? What stories do I start with? What does this look like? And I've just been obedient to that because at the end of the day, it's really, yes, we are empowering these women, but it is that spiritual gap of healing that I feel is missed. We have the mind, body, soul. So, what are we doing to help women there?
Mhm.
Um, and this was the beginning of that. And so that's kind of how we started. And we started with a podcast. We have well over 100 episodes now. And then the pandemic happened. And instead of going to the documentaries, which I wanted to do next, we went to the magazine. And that has proven to be such an incredible shift for us.
Wow, that's great. What is your membership or your viewers, your subscribers? You get what?
Yeah. So in the first, so we've been print. We went to print at the beginning of this year, and and a free digital flip book. And so then we also have a premium content, which is more reader accessibility. There's full interviews of the women who are in the magazine, 4 extra episodes, and plus 2 workout videos every month behind the paywall for digital subscribers. And then we have print. But in our first 3 months, in our first quarter of 2022, we've had over 10,000 digital readers,
No
and
way.
we're almost to 100 print subscribers.
That's congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you. And our
I
readership, our listenership, I guess I should say, is about 3,000 a month. I'd love to see that grow, but we're doing a little reorg of how we're producing content. So
mhm. How does somebody become a subscriber?
they just go to freedomsistersmagazine.com. They can subscribe for our premium E, that's $25 a year, or they can become a print subscriber on the website as well.
Wow, that's awesome. That is really awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know how hard it is. A friend of mine, we're when we were really heavy doing event photography, and at some point we thought, well, let's do our own magazine on all these different events that we cover. And I think we did like 6 issues before we finally said, this is really hard, because it was really hard to get the subscribers, even though we did the digital too. We did that,
Mhm.
and we did the you could get a hard copy, you could do the digital, you could do all that, but it's almost full time to try to get subscribers. And
Yeah.
the other things we were doing, it was great. We had all these visions that, oh yeah, everybody's going to want to see these. Well, not exactly.
Yeah. It is hard. I think the hardest part for me is, I want to be where women are already showing up, but those organizations that are out there that are already established that could help us get there, um, there just is a lack of support around that, and I'm not quite sure why, or they want it for free. And I know that they have a marketing budget. I know they have a supply budget, and they're just
Right.
not. So it's a little disheartening, but if it helps one person, one of our writers came to us because her first sergeant said, here is an empowering community for you. We don't have a membership fee. We're not an organization. We're content, community, commerce. We're about that connectivity. We do pop-up events. We just had an incredible event at the Museum of Flight with 5 women aviators. So,
I saw that. That looked
um,
really awesome.
it's incredible. And then to see these kids and these young women and, these teenage girls coming up to these women like, I didn't even know, or I'm an engineer, X, Y, and Z, this is so powerful. So they talk to a variety of groups, right? We're talking to STEM, we're talking to youth empowerment. So just because we serve doesn't mean everybody needs to serve, but our stories can equip or empower the next generation to do something that is just as powerful for our world, and
Yeah.
so to be able to do things like that just really matters. But, we're an independent publisher, not going anywhere. Have talked to others about merging our magazine under their umbrella, and they'll be like, well, I don't know if it could be a standalone. Not only is it cool that we're a standalone and we don't lack for content, we don't lack for any stories.
Right.
Every single organization that's been represented in our magazine is also women led. Um, but we're a monthly publication. We're the only ones in the industry for women veterans that is a monthly publication. And so that work cycle, it's like constant. I end one, I take a breather for like 4 days, and then I open the next pitch, the next first drafts, and start editing. I do have a couple of editors. I have a managing editor and I have a copy editor, but I also do most of the editing and coaching because most of the women that show up to write, they have great things to say. They're experts, but they're not journalists. And so
Right.
I also
Right.
teach them how to write and how to catch that tone and that narrative point of view and all of those things as
That's
well
great.
to create a great story. So it's busy, but it's hard work, but it's good work, just like motherhood. Um, it's very enriching for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this seems like a great segue for you to get into this. I know after being in the military for a long time, you're used to doing things. You're used to wearing your uniform, used to be identified and all that. And when you left, did you have that feeling of separation? Like, what am I going to do now? Because my identity has been all of a sudden it's gone.
Mhm.
And it seems like this took its place and gave you a mission to keep going forward and serving, which I think some people lose their way right when they get out of the military because they don't have that focus, and you're helping women get that focus back and do things.
Mhm.
I just think
Yeah.
it's amazing.
I would definitely say, I had an identity crisis when I got out because, we do take on that role that we're a soldier first
Mhm.
um, and a leader second, like, all the things. I mean, gosh, I hit the ground running at basic training. I was 22 when I joined, and I was already a mom of 3, and so I kinda already had that little bit of worldly experience compared to some of them right out of high school. And so from the moment, like week 2 of basic training through, I always just stepped into those leadership roles. But that's kind of just my nature.
Yeah.
That's the gifting and blessing of my life, and curse, I guess, too, is, you know, but the identity thing, it was really hard. And the depression set in. I felt really isolated. I felt really alone, but I knew that there was this community. I knew that we had to
Mhm.
exist. I competed in Miss Veteran America a couple of times in 2015, took the title, but won the title. But it's like I knew there was this community, but I also knew that the community was very isolated, very alone, very staggered, um, and not in a unified way. And I
Mhm.
don't think there's still a national organization that's really doing a great job of unifying us across the nation, like the VFW or the American Legion, right?
Right.
So
I
I think
think that
there's still room for growth there.
oh, definitely. I think, some of them, the posts are more getting in tune with it. I don't think there's a lot of them. I like to think ours in at Hollywood Post 43, we have a lot of women veterans in there, and they all take leadership roles, and it's really helped with that group. But then again, when you travel and you go to another one, you may not see that,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's, for lack of a better way to say it, it's the old boys club still running it, and they don't want to let the women into those areas because they don't want to give up the control or whatever. I see it as a guy, and that's one of the reasons I really like our post because we're so open to everybody, and everybody has
Yeah.
a chance to do something there.
Your
And
post also seems to be the demographic primarily doesn't is a younger demographic too.
yeah, it's brought a lot of well, Iraq and Afghanistan have brought a lot of people in. You know, traditionally the mine was the Vietnam era. That's starting to wane out. It was Korea in World War II and World War One before that. And you'll see now, ever since Desert Storm, which I was involved with, was my last thing in the military in the reserve, was that's when we started having more women get involved with things because there were more women that were in combat support roles and like the military police, flying helicopters, working on aircraft. Um, so more and more women were getting into these organizations, and I think Hollywood for sure went out and recruited people, made sure they went to events, and the women veterans were out in front, showing that. So I think it's great. Posts are increasing. You'll see more women commanders now. The town that I live in Norco, which is just outside of LA, the commander there of the Legion Post, Jen, is she's amazing, and what she's done. So there's more and more women that are getting involved in this. And I think you're going to see a shift, an even
Mhm.
bigger shift than there is now. But what you need, like what you're doing, is you need a national association of women veterans, some type of organization that can really push you to the forefront. I think with what you're doing with Freedom Sisters, that's like the first big step for people to get involved. And I'm hoping that people watch this and learn more about your organization and and the great stuff you do. Do you have any goals for your future with Freedom Sisters? Any places you want to branch out to? You talked about
Um,
documentaries, which I think is pretty
mhm.
cool.
I would love that. So I just applied for the Writers Guild Foundation of America, the Veterans Program. So I think it's at the end of April.
Yep.
I'll know whether I got into that, but I would love to see more stories written authentically of women who served and get them, in good productions in Hollywood. And so I'm showing up with 3 ideas, and we'll see which one we land on to write through that program. But I
Good
would
for
love to
you.
see more of that happen. Documentary for sure, I still think is on my heart to do. Um, but I have this other, like, part of me, that soul, that spirit part of me that's really I wanna have deeper care and more meaningful impact for restoring and reviving women's hearts to healing. And, we see so much brokenness. There is suffering, there is shame, there is marginalization, and we can't overlook those things, but that's not the end of the story. I do believe there's a greater hope than any hardships that we faced in the military, and that we can stand in that victory. It is not an accident that I was created fully woman and fully warrior, right? But
Yeah.
how do we stand in that power, um, and how do we heal completely with the broken pieces of us? So I really feel compelled into some ministry led things as well, for as far as Kerri Jeter's concerned. But
Hmm.
for Freedom Sisters, I would love to see it get picked up by a bigger media company to help us with the business elements of producing the magazine, because there's so much potential here. It's like a turnkey opportunity for anybody that has a publishing house that would be willing to pick up an independent publisher and help us, just
Right.
elevate. That's all. I would love to see women's stories elevated, um, in all forms, through audio, digital media, film, publications, and events. So the event part of it is such hard work, but such a good experience. And that connected that, like, we're longing for that, I think, even more since COVID, um, to be connected to one another in a real way. And
Right.
so hosting those events to really bring women together would be just amazing.
Wow. Absolutely. So when did you say you were in the uh was it Mrs. or Miss Veterans? I'm
I
screwing it
I
up.
crowned I was crowned Miss Veteran America for 2015.
2015. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's where did they host that at?
So that one was in Vegas that year.
Okay.
It's primarily been hosted in the DC area, and then it went out to Vegas, and then it last year it was in Orlando, and I think they're going back to the Orlando venue for this year as
Oh,
well.
very nice. I know we hosted something like that at Hollywood a few
Yeah, you
years
guys
ago.
did. Yeah, it did get
Yeah.
hosted there. I think in 2018, I think was at yours.
Was it? Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that was very nice. Met a lot of nice people from across the country that were competing.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, that's a national competition, and it's so cool. And just the cohort that get to know, like, even if you only compete once, the women that you get to know in that group, you really kinda stick together. You see a lot. I think I have 4 I think I have 4 queens who write for the magazine, actually. We've got, Lindsay does, Navir does, so 2018, 2019, and then, Elena, she was 2013, and myself, so there's 4 of us who were a part of that,
that's awesome.
organization, still wanna give back to the women veteran community in a different way, so it's kinda cool.
Very nice. That's very nice. So, I get another question here. What were your roles and duties as Ms. Veteran?
So you are the spokesperson for Final Salute Inc. They provide safe and suitable housing for female veterans. They have a home out of Virginia, and then they also provide ways to prevent homelessness. So if that's paying your rent or helping put food on the table or repairing your car, they also provide financial resources for that. And so you go around the country and you speak on behalf and you educate people, because a lot of people don't even know about the homelessness. It's the fastest growing population. Women veterans are in the homeless
Right.
communities. Um, and, it's not because there's a plethora of reasons why. And primarily that pay, I think that the pay gap is a legit and real thing. And a lot of women, 70% of the women who are homeless that have served are also moms. And so you get out of service, right, where the pay is standardized across the board. You get your medicals paid for, your
Hmm.
housing's paid for, and all of those things. And then you're the only sole provider. You lose your job, something happens, you get ill. So there's a lot of reasons why I think societal changes, and then trauma related. Sometimes it's trauma related as well, just happens. And that doesn't mean that they're bad or that they are not worthy of our support. So you go out, you educate, but the VA also didn't even count women veterans a part of the homeless community until 2010. Now, it's
Yeah.
only 13 years that they've been counting women veterans as a part of that population. So it's really wild to see. So that's what you do. You compete. It's a lot of fun. You learn. You learn our history. So you really need to know the lineage and the legacy that
Hmm.
you stepped into as service. But you really have to be passionate about preventing homelessness and helping women who are homeless. And you go around the country and you go in parades and go to events and you talk about it. So um, it's a really powerful experience, and it really
Oh.
shifted. That's where, so just to note for me personally, that's where it shifted in me to like really love this community, that no matter where they were on their
Hmm.
journey, they still mattered. And when you could step in and get that hand up and you could see somebody just believing in you again, like that momentum and decreasing that stress, and that helped just to catapult them back into like a rhythm that they could believe in themselves, man, that's
Hmm.
where I really fell in love with this community.
Wow. Is that what do you do when you compete with that? I assume you must go through like local competitions, regional or
They
something?
yeah, so they break it up. It's regional, it's semifinals, and then finals. So there's not an individual hierarchy like by state, county, state, like they do with Miss America or Miss
Hmm.
USA per se. But you throw your name in the hat that you want to compete. You go through their preliminary stuff, and then you're in semifinals. And what that looks like is you choose kind of, there's multiple categories in addition to the big title. But like social butterfly, so like social media campaigning, fundraising, raising the actual dollars for the organization. You're a mom, so what are you doing to impact both your families and the nation? So it's like some essay writing, some campaigning along the way, and then it's regionals. You show up and you give your talent, you interview. So there's a bit of an interview. Talent has been shifted. When I competed, it was kind of just open, and now it's a lip syncing
Oh,
competition, which is kind of fun. Um, and so you have to. It's all based on grace, poise, talent, interview, and that kind of stuff. So it's fun, and all the judges from Coast Guard through Army, all of them are all women who had served, and they have a Coast Guard spar. Gladys Hughes, she's just amazing. She's World War II veteran, and she judges every single year, and I think she'll be 99 this year.
oh
So
my gosh.
um, she's really awesome. So even if it's for that reason you compete, just so you can meet a living legacy, do it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's not what when some people think of these competitions, it's not a beauty contest per se. It's a professional. Um, you have to present yourself, like you said, your poise. You have to essay. Do
Mhm.
you do like oration, things like that? And
Yeah, so it definitely is. I think the first year they did call themselves a pageant, but they squashed that and made it more of a competition,
yeah.
because we're women, we're military women, we like to compete. You compete for position and rank and all of that, but also there's no objectification of women, so there's no fitness category, and there's no like bikini or swimsuit or fitness, any of that. They have a fun push-up, GI Joanne, I think is what the actual title is, where if you wanna do push-ups, hey, let's do it, you know? Um, they also have gowns, so there is a crown and a sash, but, like, I think of it as, like, you walk in, it's this statement piece, right? And it's a conversation starter, and so, although you do win a crown and a sash, it's really more about who we are as women collectively and
Right.
showcasing the grace, the beauty, the strength of our sisterhood versus outwardly beauty.
Awesome. That's such a great organization and program. Uh, can you merge with them at all and have them maybe Freedom Sisters talk about them in your magazine or your
Um,
podcast? Or
funny you say that. Queen Elise Dent was on their cover in January,
there you
so we
go.
have partnered with them in a few fun ways.
Good.
Um, but yeah, she's actually currently deployed, which what other beauty queen, you know, beauty queen, quote unquote, she is a beauty inside and out, but what else where else do you get that? These are real women. She's a mom, she's a queen, she's a major, she's a deployed soldier, like she's a wife, she's incredible. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've
Very
partnered with
very
them.
awesome. Very very awesome. Well, I understand you were even in a film.
Yeah. That was fun. My gosh. Like, if you would have asked me as a kid what I was gonna do when I grew up, it would have been a Broadway star living in New York in a brown cobblestone home with a closet full of shoes. You could have asked me that, and that is 100% what I thought my life was gonna be. And so full circle, going back to being asked to be in that film, man, was just like this little childhood dream, that came true. It wasn't Broadway, but it was still, you know, that whole idea of production and being on set and so cool.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how I got to meet you in person.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the film. So that's really great. I mean, that and it was nice, when we did that open house, all the different women that were there along with yourself and promoting different aspects of veterans.
Mhm.
We met some great people there, and I assume some of them are part of your Freedom Sisters, or if not,
Yeah.
then
Mhm.
they are now, right?
Yep. I made some new connections, and I had 4 women who were already a part, 4 of my writers were there, or a connection from the Miss Veteran America organization. I had 1 sister come from that, and then a few of my writers were there. But, Meryl Tengsendahl, she was there too, and she was cover of February, which I actually had not met her in person. So I met her in person at our event for Lizzie's Plan, and, and also Patricia Jackson Kelly. She and Meryl were both in my magazine in February, and I met them for the first time in January. So
Wow.
that was really cool. But
That
yeah, so new connections, and real excited to see some of the relationships that have been kindled there to see where we're gonna go.
Yeah, that's really nice that could happen at Lizzie's Plans, 3 Ps in a
Yeah,
podcast, and you were the
3.
podcast host.
Mhm. That was so much fun. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and so like the origin story of getting to 3 Ps in a podcast, I was doing an entertainer series of women who are authors and the
Mhm.
producers, actresses. And I'd come across Mia, who is the writer of Lizzie's Plan on VME. It was like, hey, I'm looking for women to interview. Are you interested? And so we had a pre-meeting, which I normally don't do. I just say, "Hey, are you interested? Let's get together and interview because I want your story to come out authentically, and I'm kind of just your guide. Here's what we
Yeah,
might talk about." But I did a pre-interview with her, and she showed me her short, and she's like, "I don't know if it would really work because her all the actors, although they are all women, they're not all women. Um, the characters are, but not the real life members, but they're all
mhm,
veterans." So anyway, she's like, "I don't know how this would work." I was like, "Well, let's just do a skit on the podcast." And it evolved into like a full production and a proof of concept and all of that, which is what we got to share with the American Legion post there back in January. So super
right.
proud. of Mia and her just like running with that like wildfire. It was so much fun and it's really cool to encourage. And that's right. That's what this is all about. It's like, let me know your story and then let's catapult you into your full potential. And she is like the poster child for that, for what we
Oh,
stand for. So,
yeah. If you want to get it done, just turn it over to Mia because she, I think, even posted on my page that night was that this is proof that if you have the the courage and the drive, you can do anything. Because she took it from nothing, and here we are at this big red carpet event, and it was all her. It was all
yeah.
her motivation and out there, you know,
Yeah.
gathering
And the,
people and the cast and doing everything. She just did an amazing job.
mhm.
And do you see yourself doing future acting now?
I mean, if somebody saw that as a worthy calling on when they watched that, I would love it. I've always been like I don't play poker because I'm what you see is what you get with me. And authenticity is like super important to me, so it's really hard for me. Like if looks could kill, like I'm sure I win the contest. So like rolling my eyes, they like captured that in the video, in the skit, but
Yes.
that's like true. Like that is legit. I can roll my eyes with best of them. So some of it didn't feel like um, you know, it challenged me for sure because it was like you had to be in that moment. But my gosh, I would love that, but I just don't know. So I'm open to it. Definitely open to future projects, whether it's documentary style or, you know.
Well, you're involved with VME now. What I would do is, take advantage of the programs. Like you said, you applied for the WGA veterans program.
Mhm.
Just keep doing that, and you'd be surprised. You have enough drive and energy and everything. Uh, who knows?
Yep. You
You know,
never know.
you never know. And that was always kind of my motto from the Army, is that the only thing that can limit you is yourself. And
Ain't that true?
yep, and if I never wanted to go back and say that I couldn't do something, and even if I couldn't complete the program, I tried. And
Mhm.
it's a great basis for your life, and obviously you're an example of that with your program, your media group, which is I just gotta applaud you for what you've done.
Oh, thanks. We're just beginning. We're
Yeah,
not going anywhere. We
no,
are
no.
proving that we are a very viable opportunity and we're welcoming. Like, if you're a woman who's thinking, like, hey, I want to share my story, I'm not sure where I can do that, I'm not sure how I should do that, because we have so many opportunities and have diversified our media. We can do a video, we can do an audio
Mhm,
podcast, right? If they don't want to show their face except on the marketing material. And I've even had some, especially in the advocacy space, that sometimes their job is actually very scary to their own protection.
mhm,
They've come on and they've spoken without being on video. So, there's audio, there's video, there's written word. It could be written by you or it can be written by somebody else. We could just talk about your organization or we could just talk about you and not your organization because you want just your personal story to be shared. So there's so many ways to diversify how to share their story with somebody who gets it. And so, we're a safe place for that. We honor their story, how they want it written or how they want it spoken. Um, and so it's just, this is the place that we want women to come to when they're ready to share their story because we get it and we want to encourage them and support them, not just in that moment, but ongoing. That's where the community piece comes back, again and again and again, is how we're supporting one another
mhm.
even long after the article is written or the microphone has been shut off. And so I think that's really what separates us from any traditional media company.
Wow. Well, do you with the military, obviously you being an officer and in training, and that is it trained you to be an interviewer, and what you had done. So not everyone can do it. It's something that comes natural, I think, with people, and that's a real gift to be able to do that and articulate things and you're in the perfect position for that. I mean,
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot
yeah.
of fun. I hear something maybe that they didn't realize they said, and it's
Hmm.
like, "Hey, I want you to expand. So just go a little deeper. Let me ask you about this." And so usually nothing's a surprise. But I like to think of interviewing really as being their guide.
Hmm.
It's not my story, it's theirs, but I can see I can see that breakthrough almost as they're like talking or sharing. And it's like, you just need that little extra push from, I'm right here with you. Let's just go one step further together. And that usually is all they need to finally just break that wall, right? And become vulnerable and authentically sharing who they are with the rest of the world. And it's so cool to watch that transformation each and every time. It's got to be hands down my favorite part.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of times these people have never been given the opportunity to tell their story, so they don't know how to do it. But you're right. When you get them into a conversation and they have that breakthrough, it's like the faucet opens up and they can talk about things they never even thought about talking about before.
Mhm.
And it's very very important to get that out. And I agree with what you had said about, it seems like people in the media or whatever love broken stories. Well, I like the fact you want to show the success stories where
Mhm.
people have come. They may have been broken down, but they came back and they did something totally amazing. And it doesn't have to be a big financial gain or building a big industry. Maybe in your own life and your own faith, you came back strong and you did something like that. Everybody has a story, and it's great that you give the opportunity to women veterans to have that microphone.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's an honor. It's definitely an honor. So the whole idea has always been about our sisters and to
yes,
support them wherever they are.
absolutely. Is there social media sites that people can go to look? Um, I'm assuming I know you're on Instagram,
Yeah,
Facebook. What are your different your website?
for sure. So I love Instagram. It's probably my favorite platform. So I'm most active there at Freedom Sisters Media. And we're also on Facebook at Freedom Sisters Media. Um, LinkedIn, Kerri Jeter, it's Peter with a J for those that aren't Yankee fans. Same spelling, but so you can find me there too. Twitter account, I barely use it. You know what I use Twitter for? When I'm on the offense and I'm trying to like doing the advocacy space and investigative journalism. You'll see me a lot there when there's corruption or abuse of power. It's kind of what I use Twitter for, is like a megaphone versus like the constant rhythm. But my websites are also freedomsisters.com. The magazine is freedomsistersmagazine.com. And each month there's a new issue out. And right now my gosh, I am blown away. Right now we're helping the Guillen family. It's a still ongoing battle, legal battle, and just loving them through their grief and honoring our fallen sister Vanessa Guillen. Um,
Yes.
I had this airman, she reached out. I actually bought the patch from her, but she created this beautiful Justice for Vanessa Guillen patch, and we have partnered with her and we're selling them as a fundraiser for the family. So all proceeds go back to the family. And those are doing incredible right now. We had to actually buy more patches because we were selling them so quickly. So sometimes there's empowering things like that. If you want an autograph book of Meryl Tengenstall's book, Shatter the Sky, we've got 20 copies of those for sale right now too. So really, it's just a place if you want to learn more about women veterans or support a cause.
Hmm.
Freedom Sisters is your place.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to let people know about or?
I just anybody that's listening to this, especially women who have served this nation, it doesn't matter what you did, how long you served, whether you deployed or you didn't. you signed up not knowing where the military was going to need you, and you did it anyway. And so, whether you have combat or not, whether you have 20 years or two, you matter and you did something that majority of Americans won't do. And so stand in that, know that it did serve a purpose and that there is a community at Freedom Sisters for you. And we'd love to share your experience with the rest of the world or just become a friend. You are not alone. And so we see you, we love you, we know you, and we're definitely cheering you on.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you brought that part up. I told that to my daughter when she was going through basic, because she would write and just say this is so hard and whatever. And I had no doubt that she was going to get through okay. But I told her, remember, you are doing something that not even 1% of the country does, and nobody will ever take that away from you. And be very proud of that fact. And everybody serves a purpose in the military. It may seem mundane in your small sphere, but in the big picture, you're a very important part of that. And there's no I in team, as they always used to tell us in the military, and that is so true.
Yeah.
It's a team sport, and that's one of the greatest things I liked about the military is having that camaraderie, that you're all a team, you all work for the same goal, no matter what your likes, dislikes, politics, whatever. You're mission focused, and that's what you worked on. And a lot of people could learn from what we learned in the military.
Yeah. I think we would see a radical shift if everyone was required to selflessly serve a minimum of 2 years in something, whether it's the military or Job Corps, Peace Corps, something that was for the betterment of our country. I think we would see a shift in the individualism more to a community mindset. But,
I
we
think so
will
too.
carry that burden. We will carry that load gladly because those of us
Exactly.
that get it understand that. So,
Absolutely. Well, I think we're coming to an end here today. I'm so glad our special guest today, Kerri Jeter, CEO, founder of Freedom Sisters Media. And remember to look her up on the web at freedomsisters.com or go to their magazine, freedomsistersmagazine.com, right?
that's right.
Facebook is Freedom Sisters Media, and same thing on Instagram.
Yep.
And you personally are on LinkedIn, in which I think most of us now, I mean, in the professional realm of things, we use LinkedIn and Instagram probably more than anything. And as for Twitter, I'm kind of the same way. I've got a Twitter account. I have to look it up every time somebody asks me about it because I don't use it. It's something that when I first got into this world, my my PR person got me a Twitter account, and I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, thanks.
It's like it, but I do kind of amuse myself sometimes when I see somebody I know come up with their little post on Twitter, because then I gotta see what they wrote about.
That's fun.
But Kerri, thanks for coming and being on the show today.
Yeah,
And
thanks for asking me. It's been an honor.
oh, you bet. And it's going to be on, obviously, on the IQ podcast website. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. It'll be on iHeartRadio. It's going to be on Apple Play, Spotify, all those different platforms after we wrap today. So
Awesome.
awesome.
Well, I'm happy to share, and thank you so much for the work that you do and for all the support you do of veterans as well. It's
Thank
been
you
a
so
pleasure
much.
talking
And
with you.
a pleasure here too. And I look forward to us working together again in the future sometime.
Okay, you got it.
All right. We'll see you,
All right.
Kerri. Take care.
See
God
ya.
bless.